Hi, first grade. We have gone over lesson 6-1 and 6-2 for interpreting data using tally marks, tally charts, and picture graphs. So we are going to go into lesson 6-3 and 6-4, interpreting data. So my first problem for you guys, I'm going to go ahead and I want you guys to do as what I do. So I want you to draw out this tally chart. Remember, this tally chart is where we put all of the tally marks for the data that we collected. So I want you to put this tally chart on your paper, and I also want you to create this picture graph. So go ahead and pause the video and draw this out so that you guys can do this one with me. All right, so my problem says, a grocery store has 17 fruits on the shelf. There are 4 bananas, 7 apples, and the rest are strawberries. How many strawberries are there on the shelf? So first thing, when we do story problems, remember we always underline what numbers we're going to be using. So we have 4 bananas, 7 apples, and then there are 17 fruits in all on the shelf. And then we need to ask yourself, what are we trying to figure out? What's our question? Now I'm going to go ahead and underline that in a different color. And our question is, what we're trying to do is figure out how many strawberries there are on the shelf. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to put the numbers into our tally chart. So right now we know that we have 4 bananas. So I'm going to put 4 tally marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go over, look, I think we have 7 apples. So I'm going to put 7 tally marks under the apples. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, the 5th one goes diagonal across the 4 numbers. So we have 5, 6, 7. So now we have 4 tally marks for bananas, 7 tally marks for apples, and we're trying to figure out how many strawberries there are. But there are 17 fruits on the shelf in all. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our picture graph now. Since we already know our apples, we already know our bananas, so I'm going to go ahead and put my pictures in to our picture graph. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bananas, and then we have 7 apples. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we just put 7 apples into our picture graph. So now we are trying to figure out how many strawberries there are. If there are 17 fruits on the shelf, you're trying to figure out how many strawberries there are. So the first thing I want to tell you guys is, remember, this was our picture graph. This is our key right here. So these aren't included in our counting. This is our key, what our categories are for this picture graph. So we're not going to be counting that first row. But the key to this is to figure out how many strawberries there are. You can just count because we're trying to get to 17, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so we already have 11 and we need to get to 17. So now that's going to help us try to figure out how many strawberries that we need to get. So we're at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So now we're at our total number. We're at 17. Then I'm going to write that out. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So now we're going to see how many strawberries that we added. We added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, 5 goes diagonal. 5, 6 strawberries. So you either could have used the picture graph to help you figure out what that missing number was in our problem, or you also could have used that tally chart to figure out that missing number, because you could have added the apples and the bananas together. You could have counted up those tally marks, and then you could have just went, same with the bananas, you could have gone, you're at 11, you could have gone 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to figure out that there were going to be 6 strawberries. So you could have done either or to figure out that missing number. But now we know, I'm going to go put it over on our chart, or on our question. We had 6 strawberries. I'm going to write, there were 6 strawberries on the shelf. All right, and then I'm going to put that down here. And put that a different color so you guys can see that. So remember, you can always pause the video to write this stuff down or draw out these pictures, but this is interpreting the data, right? You're trying to figure out what the strawberries were, so you have to do a little math to try to figure that out with the tally chart and the picture graph. Another question that I could ask you guys is, which grocery item had the most? And you guys would look at this picture graph, and you could see that the apples had the most, right? Because they had 7. And it went, no one else has 7. No other category or no other grocery item had 7. And then I could ask, which grocery item had the least amount? And as you can see, the bananas had the least amount, because that was, they only had 4. And strawberries had 6 and apples had 7. And then we already know the question, how many are there in all? Because they told us that, and that is 17. All right, I have another problem for you guys. I want you to pause the video and draw this one out, because you're going to be doing this one on your own. And then go ahead and press play when you are ready to go over this one. So my survey for this picture graph and tally chart was, what is your favorite sport? So I already collected the data. As you can see, we have 2 people said that they like football. We have 6 people said they like basketball. And then we have 4 people who said they like soccer. So now I'm going to go ahead and put our pictures into our picture graph. So we have 2 footballs, and then we have 6 basketballs. So we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have 4 soccer balls. So I'm going to put that in 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I put all these pictures into our picture graph. Let me move that one over. There we go. And remember, these are the 3 categories over here. So we are not going to count these a part of our picture graph. This is like our key. We're not going to count those. So as you can see, I put all of those pictures into the picture graph. Now I'm going to ask you guys some questions. My first question to you is, which sport had the most votes? Think in your brain and look at this chart. You can use the tally chart, or you can use the picture graph. Which sport had the most votes? And as you can see, if you guessed basketball, you were correct, because basketball had 6 votes, and that was the most out of all of them. My next question to you is, how many fewer students like soccer than football? That should be how many fewer students like football than soccer. Sorry, I mixed those up. How many fewer students like football than soccer? So we're going to look at our picture graph, and we're going to see, okay, so 4 people liked soccer and 2 people liked football. So let's see, how many more people liked soccer than football, or how many fewer students liked football than soccer? Now, as you can see, there's 1 missing right here, and there's 1 missing there right here. That's not a football, and there's soccer balls. So you can see that there's 2 fewer students that liked football than soccer. Or you could have done 4 minus 2, which equals 2. 2 fewer students. Go ahead and write that over here. 2 fewer students. And then I need to put basketball was the most favorite sport. And then my last question to you guys is, how many votes are there in all? So when you're trying to figure out how many votes there are in all, you can either look at your tally chart. You can see how many votes there are by counting up the tally marks, which we can do. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12, or you could look at the pictures. You could count the pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or you could also, since you already know what the tally marks are, because we wrote that down, you could have said 2 plus 4 plus 6, and you could have figured out that that was 12 too. So there's 3 ways that you could have figured out how many votes there were in all. So I'm going to go ahead and write that over here. There were 12 votes in all. And now we just interpreted this data. We just figured out the difference between sports that were picked. We figured out who had the most votes. And if I asked you guys which sport had the least amount of votes, you guys would be able to pick football because they only had 2 votes. You guys figured out how many there were in all. And then in the other problem, you guys interpreted the data by getting a story problem and trying to figure out that missing category. So that was interpreting pictographs, tally marks, using tally charts. And I hope that helped you guys with this chapter. Bye.